1914 on my machine.
Yes.
Shall we prepare ourselves to go
Chair,
live?
we've had an IT problem. Councillor Defell and myself, we both just managed to get in.
Oh.
On the website, I like to look on a separate computer. The link's not working.
The link to the meeting, or the link to the broadcast, or
no, the link to all the documents.
Maria, you've got some advice here?
Councillor Berlin, scroll down the agenda and go to, there's a section that's called and any other documents, and use those links, and they do work. I've opened them all directly from there. Supporting documents, don't use the links that are listed under Finance Monitoring BCR Quarter 2. Scroll further down.
Thank you.
And you'll see the PDFs, and they all work. Brilliant. So I've opened all the documents up from there.
Thanks, Maria.
Is that okay? I'd like to test it before I come into the meeting to make sure it's working.
Oh, you're ahead of the game, you are.
It works.
Oh, yeah, well, there you go. A happy Villa fan, that's a rare
few.
Very happy.
Right. Are we ready to rock and roll and get the show on the road?
We are.
Who can advise me whether we've gone live?
I will just check. Well, in fact, I'll check my screen. Okay, it doesn't appear as I will just check with Shana. Just 1 second.
We're not live because I've got
We're
it
not live yet.
computer.
No, I've got it on my screen, but I've just checked. Shana, yes, yes, it's coming up now. We are live.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this evening's Strategy and Resources Committee. I believe the recording has now gone live. Can I ask those of you in attendance to bear in mind that this is a live recording being viewed by the public, and that anything you write in the chat comments will be part of the public record and visible to the public. If we move on and do a quick roll call and audio check, if I run through this well, not alphabetically, but in the order on my paper, and we'll just try and confirm that we've got everybody here, whether there are any apologies or absences, substitutions, and that everybody's got video and audio. Okay, Vice Chair Councillor Solanke.
Councillor Venetia Solanke, Vice Chair of the Strategy and Resources Committee, and Councillor for Fulwell Ward.
Thank you. Councillor Mushtaq Ahmed.
Yes, Chair, Councillor Mushtaq Ahmed, Cranbrook Ward.
Thank you. I can hear you. Councillor Howard Berlin.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Councillor Howard Berlin, Fellow Ward, and I can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you. Councillor Namreen Chowdhury.
Hi, Chair. Councillor Namreen Chowdhury, Goodmeads Ward, and I can hear you loud and clearly.
Thank you very much. Councillor Michael Duffel.
Councillor Michael Duffel for South Wiltshire Ward, and I can hear you loud and clear.
Thanks very much. Councillor Judith Garfield.
Hello, Judith Garfield, Councillor for Barkingside Ward, and I can hear you loud and clear.
Thanks very much. Councillor Mohammed Javed.
He's sorry to interrupt, Councillor Merry.
Okay.
I think he's just popped in there.
He's popped in where?
I think he may have gone on the reserve Teams meeting instead of this one.
Michael, could you try and find him?
Sorry, he is in the meeting now.
Right. I can't see him on my pop-down list. Okay, we'll find him in a second. Councillor Taifur Rashid. Councillor Rashid, are you with us? No, not at the moment. Councillor Martin Sachs.
Yes, Councillor Martin Sachs, Barkingside Ward, and the sound and visual seems to be working well tonight.
Fingers crossed. Councillor Serena Sangar? No, all quiet. Okay, Michael, can you just try and find the other three in hyperspace, perhaps?
Yeah, Councillor Jarvis has definitely been on into this meeting, but I think he's disappeared again now.
Yeah, well, these things happen.
I'm in.
Hey,
Great.
I
Thank
can
you.
see you all.
is that Councillor Mohammed Javed?
That is me, one and only one.
Can you tell us which ward you represent and whether you can see and hear us?
Last time it was Clementwood.
And audio and visual working for you?
All working. I can hear you and see you all. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much. Let's crack on. Can I also welcome at this stage members of the public who are with us, the officers and cabinet members Rye and Coombe, who will be taking questions on the agenda items. Can I just remind you of the basic protocol for the meeting, that I'm the chair. Ultimately, I make the final decisions. I will mute you if you start misbehaving and apply other sanctions as required proportionately. Let's try and make this a smooth running and discursive scrutiny of strategy and resources. But I'm known for being a fair, firm and very liberal democratic chair. Don't test my patience, please. Okay, at this stage, I just have to ask you to bear in mind the issue of declarations of interest. If, as a councillor, you feel that you have to declare any pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest relating to any item, and please do so and raise that issue when it comes to that item on the agenda. Okay, if we move on to item 3, the minutes of the previous meeting. I presume all members of the committee have read them. Does anybody have any corrections or matters arising from them? Okay, you've got 2 seconds to put your hand up. Otherwise, I'll take them as read. Oh, Councillor Berlin, you're muted.
Sorry, Chair, I just agreed.
Okay, thanks very much. Okay, I don't see anybody else in disagreement, so we'll take them as accepted as a record. Item 4, I'm advised by the scrutiny officer that there is no public participation items. So
that's correct.
We're running ahead of time. This is most excellent. So we can move on to the meat of the agenda at item 5, which is the outline preliminary budget proposals for 2021-2022. We have a number of officers in attendance, and I believe the cabinet member and deputy leader Councillor Rye is going to introduce this item.
Chair, can I just raise that I've got non-pecuniary interest in item 19 as the outgoing trustee of Redbridge Rainbow?
Yep, thank you, Michael. Can you make a note of that?
Noted.
Thank you.
Chair,
Okay,
are you on item 4 or 5?
We're down to 5 now. We're gonna roll full steam on the budget proposals for strategy and resources. Is Councillor Rye there?
Yes, I am, Chair.
Are you happy to give us an introduction to this?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much. That means I can stop talking and have a cup of tea. Thank you.
So, Chair, this is the the budget proposals for 2021-22, and basically the first round of our proposals. As usual, we've tried to do it earlier and earlier, and we've tried to do it in 2 batches as well. This year we were hoping to do it in, probably a few weeks ago, but the challenge has been huge in terms of finding savings and basically finding ways of balancing the budget and ensuring that we have a robust financial control. This report outlines and seeks approval for the first set of our proposals, and they contribute towards our setting of the budget for 21-22. The savings that you'll see in the report total 5.702 million in the next financial year, and another 216,000 in the 22-23 financial year. As a result of the short-term savings related to the pensions contributions, it means there will be a net reduction of 1.4 million in 23-24. So basically, what that's saying is that we've got the ability to not have to put as much into our pension contributions for the next 2 years, but it will be something we'll have to put back into the budget in that third year. What this is showing is a backdrop of what the impact has been of COVID this year. And everyone on the committee knows that there's been a huge challenge for all local government in regard to budget setting over the last decade, with austerity meaning approximately a 63% effective cut to our funding. But this year has made it a lot more difficult, simply because we've had the challenge of COVID in year, but it's the ongoing pressures that we know we're going to experience, and the impact that we're going to have going forward that's also creating a pressure. So at the moment, what you have in front of you are the savings we have at this stage. There will be further savings coming forward post-Christmas that will ensure that we close the budget gap and that we set a balanced budget for the next financial year. You'll see alongside the budget savings, there's other priorities included in the report, including our climate emergency and the next steps that we expect to see in the February report. And I'll take any questions and obviously anything that Maria wants to add.
Right, thank you, Councillor Rye. Can you stick the yellow hand up if anybody wants to put a question to Councillor Rye on the covering report and the generality of the budget? But if you can keep it focused on how it relates to Strategy and Resources Directorates, I would be appreciative. Thanks. Councillor Solanki.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank the Cabinet member and Maria for this report, and I just wanted to highlight some of the positives that the Council was doing despite, huge challenges. I think it's really impressive that the Council has pursued, at least we've got 9 green flag parks, we've got weekly waste collections, we've got free green waste collections, we've got 1 hour free parking, delivering, affordable homes, outstanding children's and planning services, and the list goes on. And I think we actually owe a huge debt to all our officers who do an amazing job, especially during these times. Whether it be during COVID, where we had the wellbeing service, where residents were looked after, making sure that every need was met. So I just want to say, even despite the huge challenges, despite the COVID pandemic, really grateful for that we have been able to achieve so much as a council. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Right, so that was a question to the Cabinet member about how we're going to how he's going to keep this performance going. Councillor Rye, would you like to comment on the future? Chair, that what the priorities are of the administration, and the things that have been outlined by Councillor Solanki remain our priority. As amongst our priorities, we've committed to the things that were listed, and that's what has been the challenge for us. As you know, the easy options are to just close services or to reduce services and find a way of balancing the books. And what we've tried to maintain is keep the services going. And the challenge that we always give to Maria and her team and all the other corporate directors is find a way of delivering savings, looking at efficiencies, looking at service change, looking at transformation, looking at income generation first before we even consider service cuts. So I do believe that at some stage we will see service cuts happening. It's inevitable if we carry on with increasing demand and with reducing budgets. But what we're trying to do is trying to maintain and make them as sustainable as possible, so that if they're self-sustainable, then there is nothing for us to take from that service. If a service can finance itself or can generate extra income, then it protects itself directly through that. Right, thank you. I see Councillor Berlin's hand raised.
Thank you, Chair. I've got two questions. Firstly, we've kind of narrowed the deficit from about 25 to about 19.5 million. How are we going to balance the budget between now and the end of the financial year? And my second question is on the Quiet Streets programme. Can you confirm that there will be no financial loss to the council in the current financial year? And what was the overall cost of the scheme? Thank you.
Councillor Wright, I'll point out that Quiet Streets is not an issue that falls within Strategy and Resources Directorate's purview, but I'm sure you can give us some quick assurance that about the issue.
Yeah, so on balancing the budget, it remains a challenge. It's probably, like as I said, this has been the most difficult year to try and balance the budget, and I include that the very first year that we took the council, because there has been a massive in-year pressure simply on the extra demand, but also with the savings that were being rightly and well, not rightly, but inevitably pushed back because of the work that the officers have been doing on COVID and the COVID response, especially in the first kind of 6 months of the first 6 to 9 months of the year. It feels like a long time ago, but if you remember, it was basically all hands on deck for many months to make sure that we could call residents, get deliveries out, get food out, set up our wellbeing services. So that has made a huge impact, and that's what's made it really difficult. I think what we know what we're doing with the next few weeks. We've already started work on that before this report was even printed, looking at further savings, looking at further ways of generating income, and looking at different ways of delivering our services, so that we get to a point where we will have a balanced budget. We're also going to be looking at the precept the government has said is the only way that they're willing to fund adult social care effectively is through putting a 3% precept charge on council tax. So that's another an area that we can take and include within to save that budget gap.
Sorry, Chair, if I could just come back on Quiet Streets. I'm not trying to debate the issue. I'm literally talking about the financial consequences. Could Councillor Wright just confirm that there'd be no net loss to the council in the current financial year? And what was the actual overall cost of the scheme?
So I don't know the details exactly to hand of how much the scheme had spent for the first few weeks that had been given or had been trialled. I believe that the leader gave you an answer, though, if I recall correctly, at full council about a week to 10 days ago. So I'm sure you'll find it in the minutes of that report.
Thank you, Chair.
You're on mute, Chair.
So I am, thank you. Yes, saved by a young person again. Maria, did you put your hand up to come in on that item?
I put my hand up to come in on the next steps of the budget. I just wanted to direct members to section 9 of the report, where it lists a number of things that we're doing to enhance what Councillor Wright was saying. So they're all listed within there.
Okay, thank you. That is helpful. Councillor Garfield, you want to make a contribution here?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Yeah, I'd like to echo what Councillor Solanke said. I think it's fantastic that we are continuing to deliver services, particularly for the most vulnerable members of our community, particularly as we've had 63% cuts since 2010. Austerity has really hit us. So then having the coronavirus on top of that has left us in a very precarious, very difficult situation. However, on item the Social Action Fund on page 19, section E. It's a very small cut, but it makes a huge impact on the voluntary sector. £40,000 could mean the difference between an organisation failing and not actually being able to bring inward investment into the borough. So I think it's a little bit short-sighted of us. I know things are desperate, I get that, but I think it's something I would really like us to review and really think about, particularly in light of the fact that the Social Value Act, which is going to be updated on the 1st of January, these cuts could prevent organisations bringing in inward investment, and there will be more opportunity from the Social Action Fund for BAME communities and LGBT communities. The whole change is going to be around equalities, and that is something we're very conscious of in the borough, and we do a lot of work around, and I'm very proud of the work that we do around that. We've also got a voluntary sector that has worked incredibly hard throughout the past 8-9 months on very limited resources, and it's usually the smaller organisations that get hit the most by a cut like this. Another point I'd like to make, and that is I know that we are using Space Hive, and I don't know what the contractual agreement is with Space Hive, but there are cheaper forms of programs that can be used. Space Hive is incredibly expensive, and is there a way we can look at that? Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I can see you're very concerned about this issue. In a few minutes' time, Maria's going to take us through the details of the specific items.
Oh, sorry, I thought we were dealing with this now.
We're on the generality, the overall at the moment. But I'm sure Maria's heard what you've said, and she'll take
I've got
us
a few
through
other points, but I can come back on those. I'm sorry, Maria. I do apologise.
No need to apologise to the officers. They're here to earn their money. Don't worry. It's me. It's me you apologise to.
I'm sorry, Chair. I'm very sorry.
It's all right, I'll let you run.
A bit too passionate about that subject.
Nothing wrong with passion. I have the same with Leighton Orient. Don't worry.
And it's difficult looking at the agenda and being online at the same time. So I do apologise.
That's okay. I see Councillor Coombs' hand up. Do you want to just... Councillor Coombs, do you want to come in here, or are you happy to save your contribution for later?
I was just going to answer some of Councillor Garfield's questions on this.
Can we do that in 10 minutes when we get down to that on the run through? Thank you. Just follow me. I'm chairing. Okay, thanks. Okay, has anybody else got a question to Councillor Rye on the overall budget financial situation? And no, okay. In that, Mohammed's put his, Councillor Javed, your hand has arisen.
Chair, thank you. I think you said that Maria is going to take us through. I'm going to ask a question, but I think it definitely the sort of outline the bleak picture which we have, and I agree with Councillor Slanky that despite that bleak picture, lots of goodies have been done, and also it's been cut all such as libraries and so on, and parks are opening. Which is improvement going on, which is good. I wanted to ask, when Maria gets going, as it were, a couple of questions. For example, the single-year settlement. What impact does it have in terms of, us planning services and so on?
Yeah,
that's one question. There's one later on. I'll ask others later.
Yeah. Can you deal with that one now, Maria? Give you an early outing.
Yes, absolutely, Chair. So through you, the single year settlement, it's incredibly difficult to plan for the future. We did say this last year, and we had a single year settlement again. Prior to that, we did have the 4-year settlement from government that gave us some certainty. It wasn't a rolling 4-year settlement, which I would have preferred, because it gives us that rolling understanding about what will happen in the future. It is incredibly difficult to plan for the medium term when you only have 1-year settlement. What I will say is that we've had the spending review at this stage, but the settlement is due to come through in the next couple of weeks, or the provisional settlement anyway. The final settlement normally comes through at some point in end of January, February time. So we are eagerly awaiting the provisional settlement to see exactly what the national numbers mean locally for us in Redbridge, so we can actively plan. But a 1-year settlement is very, very difficult. in a period of time that has so much uncertainty, given this year with the COVID pandemic.
Right. Chair, through you, could I please come back, and if you would consider making representation to the government. I agree with Maria that single year settlement does cause problems to local authorities. I remember the days when we had the floor and ceiling settlements. Maria, you're probably too young to remember, but that at least gave you an opportunity. And could we, under recommendations, make a representation to the government through our members of parliament as well, to say that we would like government to consider making an announcement for 3 year, proposals.
Yeah. I'm prepared to run with that as part of the recommendations at the end of this item.
Thank you.
Don't think that's going to be particularly problematic. Seems like a sensible thing to do. Maria, got anything further to say on that? No, thank you. I don't see any other hands at the moment, so I'll have last dibs. A lot of people I talk to in Redbridge say, "Oh, well, Redbridge is quite well off, sort of out of London borough, and you must have lots of reserves. There's a bit of a crisis on at the moment. Can't you use your reserves?" I struggle a bit with this issue. So, Maria, could you run us through where we are in terms of the reserves, what reserves we're using, and what the implications are?
So I think it's important to highlight when making reference to reserves and balancing the budget that it is not a sustainable way to balance the budget. Reserves are they're like one-off savings that an individual has in their bank account. So once you spend your savings on running your everyday expenditure, it runs out and you've still got your everyday expenditure. So if I liken that to the way that reserves work in our local authority, if we spent our reserves balancing the budget, we'd find our reserves run out and we would lose our financial resilience and sustainability, and we would still need to find sustainable ways to balance the budget, i.e. ongoing savings. So we would need them. I would not recommend that we use reserves to balance the budget. There may be a need to have earmarked reserves to support certain types of initiatives, transformation, investor save, investor earn we've had in the past. But I think it's incredibly important for us to preserve our reserves at their current rates and levels if we can. Our general fund balance stands at just over 17 million and has been the case for the last few years. We have a built-in contingency of 3 million within the base budget, as well as a risk provision, and we have 14 million pounds in our business risk reserve, and I think that helps our financial resilience. I would also add, I often hear, you didn't ask this, Chair, but I'll add this: why can't you borrow to fund the revenue budget? We can't do that. That's not permitted for us to work in that way. And I know that the way that money has been distributed by central government through borrowing, we do not have those provisions to do that within the way that we operate, even though we have been given special permission to capitalise capital receipts to fund transformation, but that's for a set period of time. So I would say our reserve position, we have reserves. They're not on the high side, but they are there, and that we should preserve them at the current rates. And we have been topping up specific reserves over the period of time, and I will come to that when I talk about one of the proposals.
Okay, thank you. That's quite helpful. So basically, if things go seriously wrong with the 21-22 budget, we do have we've got a reserve facility that would get us out of short-term bother. I can see councillor.
Wouldn't be recommending that.
No.
That wouldn't be a recommendation at this stage.
But that would be the Armageddon situation. I can see Councillor Rye has raised his hand. Do you want to come in on this, Councillor Rye?
Yes, Chair. So it really does annoy me when people say, and I know that's not where the place you were coming from yourself, but when I've even heard politicians at a national level talk about local government having reserves that they should be using to fund their revenue. It's a nonsense. It means that people don't understand at all how local government finance works. There are reserves in local government, but those reserves, a lot of them are, as Maria said, earmarked for one purpose or another. And you know, to use them, the only time you would really consider using reserves is if you know that you need to buy some time to let a transformation project or an efficiency be delivered. If you thought that we're going to put a project together that's going to deliver us £3 or £4 million of revenue savings ongoing in the next 12 to 18 months, then you might consider using reserves for that short period, for that 1 year, so that you can deliver that project. But you wouldn't use it, because the moment you've used it, that hole's created again for the next financial year. So we would never, you know, that would be a last resort really, to try and use reserves on a long-term basis. You might use some occasionally, but that was not what you would rely on.
Right, thank you. That has greatly helped my personal understanding, and will, I think, be helpful in any conversations I have over the coming months. Thank you very much. Michael, have we found Councillor Taifour Rashid yet? I can't see her on the list of participants yet. I've just had a text message from her saying she's trying to get into the meeting. So if you could just try and make contact with her.
Chair, I think she logged into the second meeting by mistake.
Yeah, so we've all done that.
If there's some way of transferring in, I think she would love to see us all.
Okay, I'll. My vice chair maybe could send her a quick text message.
I will do.
Okay, right. Let's rock and roll on. Maria, are you ready to spring into action here and take us through the S&R, the 5 specific items relating to strategy and resources?
So if it would be helpful to members, I can share my screen so you can see the proposals on screen. Would that be helpful?
It would be to me.
Yes, please. Please do it.
Let me see if I can do that in the best possible way. So can members see that? And I will try to enlarge it. You can also take control of the size yourselves by pressing the control key down and either using the plus or minus, and it will make the thing that I'm sharing bigger and the people smaller, or the people images bigger.
Weirdly, using control minus will make it bigger and control plus will make it smaller. But I am learning stuff off you.
Me too, I'm learning. So there are a few proposals here. We have Councillor Rye in the meeting, and we also have Councillor Coombe. Both of them have these proposals, have different proposals that we'll be presenting today. So shall I make a start with the first one? So we've got maximising the collection of council tax, business rates, including targeted collection of overdue payments to the council. That's a £1.6 million saving that will be coming into the council, and this is around improving our collections and our collection performance. Now, when we had the initial medium-term financial strategy update in September, we were anticipating that we would see a decline in collections. This seeks to improve that position, because we're seeing that collections are holding throughout the financial year, and the team are working really hard with some new initiatives. So things like chatbot technologies, they're using nudge letters to encourage people to get in touch to be able to pay their council tax. We're also seeing additional work around detecting missing properties or prevent further fraud. So that will be where a property's been at single person's discount, and now there's another adult in the home and they're at full council tax, or where a child has reached an adult age, or where properties have been exempt because for a particular reason, I don't know, students, for example. Pushing forward with further debt collection, putting people on payment plans and ensuring that people aren't falling behind on their council tax collections. Residents have the option to pay their council tax over 12 months, not just over 10 months. So this is a good proposal to put forward, and I'm really encouraged by the success of the team so far throughout the year. It's a very difficult year with COVID-19, but I'm actually really reassured. Happy to take questions.
Sorry, slow on the unmute there. Members, anybody got any questions to Maria on this particular item?
I do.
Okay, Mohammed, I see your hand up and I see Councillor Duffel as well. I'll let you go first.
Well, thank you.
Age before beauty.
Well, I'm both. Could I, Chair, please say, first of all, that officers have done a brilliant job since March, since this lockdown, and still continue to do. That is not just my comment, the comment from the constituents who have received calls, as Maria says, letters and so on, and trying to offer help, etc. So I wish to record my thanks, so thank you very much. Maria, I read somewhere, collection fund deficit. What is that, please? And then I'll come back to another question.
The collection fund is the area that holds council tax collections and business rates collections over the years, and we release within the general fund at the end of each financial year. When we set the budget, we estimate what would the collection fund surplus be that will come into help within the budget. And fundamentally, over the last few years, the collection fund has done really well on the council tax side, but on the business rate side, there's been some challenges with the appeals that have been coming through, with the small businesses, with businesses closing. So there have been challenges. We are a top-up authority on business rates. We are not an authority that is deemed to have enough business rates locally. So we are subsidised by the business rates pool, and we've been in the London business rates pool, but prior to that, nationally.
Okay, thank you, Maria. Did you have a supplementary there that you wanted, or a follow-up question, Councillor Jarvis? Oh, it's gone. All right, Councillor Duffel.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to check. What do we mean? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Just wanted to check. What do we mean by increased proactive debt collection, and what techniques are we going to do to achieve this? And secondly, what do we mean by redesign of printed media to develop initiatives for residents and businesses? What's included in that, and how is that going to result in a saving?
For example, it's really important that we are talking to those that are due to make payments within the process of the debt collection. So, for example, those that are due to make a payment that are not on direct debit, within how the process is working, may forget to pay on the first of the month. So reminding them that their payment is due, or if they're on a payment plan, there are text messages that can go out to remind people, and they find them really, really helpful, which is a good way to remind people that they've got an amount of debt that's due to be paid. By making sure that our website is clear and the literature that we send out is clear, it helps residents understand what is due and when. With businesses in this financial year specifically, we've seen government fund approximately half of business rates because businesses have been exempt, so they funded us with a grant instead of the amounts coming through. And the literature associated with advising businesses of how the process has been working throughout this financial year. It's not making reference to business grants here, but we've also had the business grants. We've had a number of different initiatives linked with businesses specifically, and council tax, the hardship grant that went out to each CTRS resident. There's been a number of things that we've had to produce literature for to ensure that residents are informed.
Okay, so on the debt collection, this is about assisting and encouraging rather than switching to be more aggressive with.
Absolutely right. This is about encouraging residents to remember when they're due. We always encourage anybody that's finding difficulty with payments to get in touch with us. We can put them on payment plans. We do have, we have initiatives. There is a hardship fund. And these are all initiatives there to help individuals stay in control of their money, stay in control of their payments. And we want residents to be talking to us as early as possible, even before they miss a payment, because sometimes when they fall behind, a couple of months can be quite difficult for some people. So we want to make sure that we're working with them to ensure that they can repay the council tax that is due or the business rates that are due.
And sorry, Chair, if I can just on the supplementary on my second point there, on on the switch to kind of online and things like that, we do have an undertaking and kind of a promise to do. Are we going to ensure that residents aren't going to be disenfranchised with the push to online?
There isn't a. We don't think that that's the case. Actually, I've seen during the COVID pandemic that the digital channels have become the most effective channels for us to communicate with our residents, with our businesses, with our clients. Where services had previously had some maybe sceptical about the ability to engage with residents or clients, actually have really come on board, because the digital channels, look at the way we're meeting today. These weren't being used before, but they absolutely are the right way forward, and residents have really embraced it. It's been a real success.
But we must ensure that residents that don't have access to online aren't disenfranchised. I think it's important that the council does recognise that.
And they can telephone.
Yeah.
We have lots of other ways that they can get in contact with us, and we keep those options open, of course.
Thank you, Chair.
I think we're going to cover a bit of ground on that when we come to the digitalisation issue on this part of the agenda, so we can revisit that. Councillor Javed, did you want to come in here?
I do. I apologise earlier. I muted myself and missed that question, but thank you for that.
I thought you had. I thought I'd give Councillor Duffel a chance to get going. Anyway.
Oh, did you? Oh, you done it deliberately. Okay.
Crack on.
Chair, could I please ask Maria? Somewhere I read that, I think it's on table 3, page 11, there are going to be some job losses. And I'm going to ask if everything possible is done to avoid that, because as I said, office is already working hard, and by taking more away, it's going to make it difficult for the remaining. Am I right? Have I got the right page? And then I got one question.
What job losses in what area?
Planning, I
People
thought.
Directorate.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, Maria. Can you deal with that? If it is it or is it not a strategy and resources issue?
It's not a strategy and resources saving. It's a People Directorate saving. It would have been discussed, Councillor Javed, at the People Scrutiny meeting on Monday, and will be discussed again at the Overview Committee on Monday next week. So it's not one of the strategy and resources savings, but you've spotted it. There are 4 FTE that are affected by the proposal. Yeah. And considering there are a number of proposals here, and I appreciate your comments, actually, where there are proposals where full-time equivalent roles are affected, it's up to us to identify them here so that we're transparent about the process.
Thank you. Well, Chair, I'm pleased to see that Deputy Leader is still here and he's taking note of what we're saying. And when we come to discuss later, we'll take on board. The last one from you, Maria, is with regards to maximising income. I agree with all the strategy you out. Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes. I can hear you.
I fully agree with the strategy you outlined, I think in para 9, which is good. One of the things is that we always say that the government, our settlement is never enough, because the government appear to have wrong data about Redbridge. And Chair, you alluded to it earlier, that everybody sees Redbridge as a leafy, as a rich and affluent, etc. Well, I have no problem with that, award, but nevertheless, there is a deprivation in the borough. Something like 70% increases in the benefit claimant recently. So that shows you the number of people dependent on public resources and so on, and indicates to you that, there is a deprivation, and I'm not too sure whether the government takes all that into account. And I'm asking Maria if we are planning once again to give the government the latest figure about our data in Redbridge, and hopefully that would be looked at positively by the government. Yeah, thank you.
Did you get that, Maria?
Yes, I did. You're supportive of us keeping government updated about our data locally, Councillor Javed, and I can assure you that whenever we speak to government, in whichever forums we are, presenting Redbridge's case each time, because it's whatever's in the settlement, it hasn't been enough in the past, and we hope that government are listening to what we need in the future so that we can sustain supporting our residents and providing the services that our residents need. I'm more than happy to share the Appendix A again, Chair, if that would be helpful, and take us through to the next item. You're on mute, Chair.
Thank you, Maria. Yep. I mean, obviously, on this item, we're all keen to see maximisation of council tax income and as much assistance to people as possible to be able to meet their requirements. So,
that's right.
Thank you for that. And if you can move on to the next item then.
Of course. So the next one is the pension fund revaluation benefit, and Councillor Rye made reference to this one specifically in his introduction. This is the outcome of the triennial valuation that took place in March. Those of you that have either attended Pension Fund Committee or are members of Pension Fund Committee, this will be something that you're really familiar with. So every 3 years we revalue the pension fund and the employer's contributions to the pension fund. In this triennial valuation, we were able to secure a 3% reduction, and as a result of that, we were able to secure 1.8 million over the period. So we have already cashed that 1.8 million in the current financial year. We've got 2 more years of that, which is why the saving stays for 2 years and then comes back out. And Councillor Rye made reference to this because we will need, in 3 years' time, we will be undoubtedly looking at changes in the triennial valuation again, and we should always consider needing to top up the employer's contributions. We had put a reserve aside for pension fund triennial valuation, thinking that if it was in excess of the provision that we'd made in the medium-term financial strategy, we would then release that, and we haven't needed to use it. We're able to make a saving. So that's the next one. I can't see any hands if anyone wants to ask any questions.
I can see a hand from Councillor Mushtaq Ahmed. Mushtaq, do you want to come in here with a question? No, Mushtaq has gone apart from a buzzing sound.
Sorry, Chair, can you hear me?
Okay, do you want to put your question or comment to Maria?
Yes, thank you. Just on this pension fund revaluation, but is there something which happen like every 3 years, and was there our funds performing better? Is there something else we have identified there?
Yes, so the fund has been performing very well. You're absolutely right, Councillor Ahmed. And as part of this, we also kept the years at the same rate that they were at the beginning of the last triennial valuation. So we didn't let the years drop down by another 3. We felt that that was a better option, given that we retained the years at the current rates. So we were able to secure the £1.8 million at this point in time, which I think it's a saving that's been achieved already in the current financial year. So that's the best way to achieve savings, in my opinion. Cash them early.
Thank you.
Okay, are you finished on that, Councillor Ahmed?
Yes, Chair.
Yeah, so basically this is allowing us to put about £500,000 squid to next year's budget, is it?
1.8 million.
In total. Yep, thank you, got it. Okay, and I don't see anybody else indicating they want to come in on this particular item, so if you move on to the next one, Maria.
So the next one is looking at the assumptions that we made within the September MTFS update report regarding tax base and business rates based collectibles. So we looked at some of our assumptions around this, and we're confident that we will be able to achieve another 1.4 million associated with our business rates and tax base. We were thinking that there would be more properties that would be affected and we may not see them come on board, but we have reviewed those assumptions again. members will remember that as we get towards the February report, we need to set the actual council tax base that we are working from, and that's what we're working towards. But I'm feeling more confident. We were particularly worried given the pandemic and the furlough scheme, but given that furlough has been extended to the end of the financial year, we are seeing that things are changing in terms of the collections and the tax base.
Right, thank you. Councillor Sachs, you got a contribution on this?
Councillor Sachs, you're on mute.
The confidence that you're expressing, does that take into account the fact that we've just been through a second lockdown, and the fact that the tier 2 is having an effect on hospitality businesses, in particular pubs? You can only go there if you have a substantial meal, which I think is keeping a lot of less well off citizens out of the pubs, and the risk that we may be going into tier 3 even as early as next week.
So this takes into account our actual tax base and the number of properties that are coming on board that are taxable, and we've been doing quite well in this area over the last few years, and I'm always quite prudent about the assumptions when they come to the tax base growing. As more properties are taxable and come on board, it's our duty to collect from them. And looking at the assumptions around taxable properties in September, we're expecting to see a reduction in what we were hoping would come through, but I'm able to say that I think that this will be coming through, and that's why we've changed the assumption here. If there is a change that happens between now and February, we'll of course reflect it as we set the tax base. But at this point in the year, and we're in December, I'm confident about this number, which is why it's here. I hope that this number grows further, actually.
Okay, you got any further comments on that, Councillor Sachs?
No, I'm happy with that response.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Maria. Interesting subject, local tax base. There was a rumour going around. Is there any truth in the fact that there's going to be a local sales tax on Scotch eggs?
I don't know anything about that.
Must be something I saw in the Ilford Recorder.
Next proposal, if you'd like.
Well, we might try floating that one at some stage. I understand Scotch eggs have become amazingly popular recently. Okay, let's crack on. Next item, please, Maria.
So now we're into the strategy savings. So we've got promoting better access to engagement activities through use of digitisation. This is a £15,000 saving, and this is largely proving that the success of these digital meetings that we've been having, and therefore considering using a hybrid of actual physical meetings in meeting rooms at some point, like we have done for local forums or staff forums before, but also using this way of meeting through Teams. This has been quite successful with some of the budget consultation meetings that we've had throughout September and that we'll be having in the new year. So this essentially is what this proposal is.
Right, thank you. I've got my screen big, so I can't see my microphone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, I'm a bit of a tech geek on digitalisation, as people will know. So we're looking to this to yield 40,000 in efficiencies in the coming year, in the future.
15.
This is 15. This is the 15 proposal.
Okay, yes, I'm with you. Thank you. I'm reading the line below, not the line above.
I was going to come to the next one, which I think Councillor Coombe wanted to come in on. So
yeah, I don't think there's anybody else wanting to comment at this stage. Councillor Garfield, you've got a
Yeah. Can you hear me? Sorry, because I can't see my icons very well, so I apologise.
same with me.
Yeah, they've kind of disappeared. Yeah, I think it's really good that we're doing so many meetings online, even though, you know, I seem to be doing so many meetings in a day that I kind of, it's getting a bit much now. But anyway, as far as the local forums going online, how has that increased turnout? Have we got any numbers or anything from that? Because it'd just be really useful to know, to have some sort of comparison about how they're working online.
Chair, Helen has the answer to that.
Right, thank you.
Sorry, I was being polite and I had my hands up.
Oh, I can't see your hand.
I can't see hands at the moment. I'm ever so sorry.
I've taken it down now in case it lingers later, and you spot it when I've got nothing to say. So thank you, Councillor Garfield. You're absolutely right. We do have numbers, and for the last range of local forums, we had over 100 people, which actually was more than we would have had in person. And I went to all of them from, you know, my own study. And one of the comments that somebody put up in the chat was, you know, can we continue with these so that we don't actually have to go out into the cold and wet and sit in cold and drafty school halls and town halls? And I, for one, I'm 100% with that one. But taking Councillor Duffell's earlier point about not disenfranchising people, we would still have one face-to-face local forum in each area during the year. And we would also be looking at, you know, when's the best time for that kind of thing? You know, is it in the evening? Would it be earlier in the day? You know, what sort of time in the year, so that, you know, we haven't actually discussed this and come to any solid conclusion. But my thought would be that, you know, when it's lighter for longer in the evening would be the better time for that kind of thing.
Right, thank you for that. I mean, on that issue, I'm of the view that you know, digitalisation does help people's access, especially people with language needs and in some cases special needs. But I am a bit old school myself. I mean, I quite like a face-to-face cup of coffee. That's why I came into being a councillor. But I think it's fairly obvious that there is going to be an increasing move towards online meetings in life generally, because it's just so much easier not having to move off your sofa and get on the bus or drive and so on. It's probably more environmentally friendly. So I don't think it's not going to be a trend that's going to go away. Right, me waffling on from the chair, I do apologise. Councillor Berlin.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to say to Councillor Coombs, yeah, we're big fans of the local forums, so, you know, well done for that. You know, I think a lot of people really enjoy being able to do it from the comfort of their own house. It's something our group have done. We started doing about 6 weeks ago. You know, we've had 200, 250 on one occasion. They're really, really popular. So, you know, keep on going with this and we'll do exactly the same.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, a Leighton Orient online Zoom meeting can raise 30 or 40 people on occasion, so there's hope.
Aston Villa can get far more.
Well, you're a big club.
Always gets back to football.
Oh, no, it's terrible. Sorry. Distracted yet again. Right, Maria, save us. Get us back to the agenda.
I'm going to open up the last saving, which was the Social Action Fund one for £40,000. And I'm going to hand over to Councillor Coombe, who was trying to come in when the question was asked by Councillor Garfield earlier on.
Yeah, it sounds very sensible to me. Thank you.
Right, thank you. So, you know, in answer to Councillor Garfield's concerns, she's absolutely right. And, you know, the voluntary sector locally have done an enormous amount of good for us in this past year. And this is a difficult decision, but the Social Action Fund is the maximum that a group could actually bid for is £1,000. And so that would be £2,000 in any 1 year. And, you know, the mitigation, the 2,000 pounds, the mitigation fund, the maximum that a group could actually bid for is £1,000. And so that would be £2,000 in any 1 year. And, you know, the mitigation, the mitigation factors that we've tried to look into are actually that we're not changing anything about the commission by grants. We're also funding the community fundraiser at RCVS, because that's another important way for organisations to lever in money for themselves. I know that you spoke about Space Hive, that's more in Councillor Rye's department than mine, although obviously that is a way of other way of getting crowdfunding. And we've also got the Redbridge Local Lottery, which we've just launched, which is another way that smaller groups can actually add funds to themselves.
Right, Councillor Garfield, do you want to make a response or follow-up comment to what Councillor Coombs said? Sorry, Cabinet Member Councillor Coombs said.
Yeah, thank you. That's really helpful, and I appreciate that response. Have we got any information on the return of the investment of the social fundraiser? Because I think that would be really useful information for us to have, and how much external funding that position has actually brought in, yeah, and how it's actually benefited the groups in the borough, because I think that would be really helpful information. As far as the Social Action Fund, yeah, I if it is only £2,000, that kind of makes a lot of sense going over to the lottery or another form of distribution. But I still think that, you know, we really do need to look at trying to avoid as much cuts to the voluntary sector as we possibly can.
Yeah, thank you. So if I could come back in on that, I don't have the figures to hand, but I can certainly find out for you and get back to you all. We are trying to avoid cuts to the voluntary sector, and that's why the commission via grants has obviously already been apportioned, and that's going to stay exactly the same. And one of the things that I've been talking about with officers is, you know, how can we lever more money into the borough, because there is money out there, and we need to find it and get hold of it. So although that we're making this budget saving at the moment, we are still looking into ways we can get other money into the borough.
Can I just come back on one more thing? Am I muted?
Yeah.
I can't.
No, Councillor
Thing, and that was
Garfield. Go on.
Yeah, and that was the update on the Social Value Act. Are we doing any work around that? And, you know, is it will there be support for the voluntary sector come the 1st of January, or will this Social Action Fund actually have an impact on this?
I'd have to get back to officers to find out exactly about that.
Okay. Okay, I'm taking up on your offer then, Councillor Coombe. Can I rely on you to circulate that information out to all committee members, or do you want to just?
Yeah, and apologies if it's not next week.
No.
That's fine.
Let's say, can we say before Yuletide, Santa comes down me chimney?
Definitely before your next meeting.
Okay, we'll take you for that. Michael will make a note.
And if it's better, then you'll be happier.
Yeah, exactly. Over deliver and under promise, or the other way around. Never remember. Anyway, you're doing it. Fine. Councillor Duffel, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I think it was under promise and over deliver.
That's the one.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. I must concur with Councillor Garfield on this. I am concerned about this cut, and I just want to ensure that has there been an impact assessment on kind of the organisations that will see? I mean, I understand it is only 1,000 to 2,000 that they're going to be losing a year, but this is 20 to 40 organisations that could potentially kind of face this. Has an impact assessment been done? Are we expecting any of them? This has been a difficult time for a lot of the voluntary sector, and I just want to make sure that no one's going to go through any kind of unnecessary pain off of this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange thing. The Social Action Fund is something that people bid for. So it's not like we're saying, you know, we normally give you 2,000. Sadly, you're not going to get anything.
Wow.
So it's something that people apply for. So it's slightly different in that respect, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but are there organisations that do actually bid for this each year?
Not, I don't know that they actually bid, you know, year on year, because we have different people. It's on the website, you know, who have been given allocations this year. And so, you know, what we're looking at is making sure that as many people as possible, as many different organisations get this. So it's so we have looked at that.
I'm just concerned that this kind of is the year that we are choosing to do this. I mean, I'm almost kind of, I'm wondering whether, I mean, I don't know if it's in the committee's gift chair if we can recommend that this line item is removed. I'm not sure if that's something that the committee would be willing for the cabinet to look at and reconsider. You know, I don't know if that's something I need to formally move or anything.
Well, I think it's theoretically possible. Michael, are you out there?
The other Michael.
Hello, yes I am.
Yeah, sorry. Can you just remind me about the moving of? I'm reasonably well versed in the moving of recommendations, but can you just advise me in respect of Councillor Duffell's proposal there?
Could you just repeat the proposal? Sorry, Councillor Duffell.
Sorry, that's right. Yeah, I would like, if possible, for the committee to recommend that line item 21-22 STA02 is removed.
From the report to cabinet.
Yeah.
Okay. That, as a recommendation, that can go forward. Yes.
Okay.
I formally move.
And you would. You'll need a seconder. And Maria wants to speak.
Can I just come in? I think you need to vote on anything like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Calm down, everyone. Okay. Councillor Duffell, we're not quite there yet, but.
No, I'm formally.
When it comes to the end, shush. When it comes to the end, you move your proposal. Okay, I'll tell you. Right, thank you. Has anybody else got any contributions? I see Councillor Berlin's hand raised. Got any contributions?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I find myself in total agreement with what Councillor Garfield said earlier. And I think she really made the point really well. And I certainly would support what Councillor Duffell said about deleting the line. So hopefully the rest of the committee will consider that later on. Thank you.
Hello, I can hear background noise coming from someone. Sounds like radio or telephone or something. Okay, thank you. It's gone quiet. Councillor Javed, you got your hand up.
Well, Chair, I just heard Councillor Berlin saying delete. We can't ask for deleting. I think we can ask the cabinet to review.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'd be happy to support that myself. Yes.
If it says review, then I will support it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll do in due course. We'll do an amending motion.
Thank you.
Okay. Not a problem. Okay. Anybody got any substantive comments on the item we're on at the moment? No. Councillor Duffell, you want to come back?
Yes, sorry. This is not on any specific line item. This was on something in the report. I think it's on section 4.1. We say we're going to modernise our call centre to resolve more calls first time. Sorry, I did not know which point to bring this up at. It wasn't a general thing about the budget, and it wasn't a line item. So I just have a couple of questions on that, and I think
not a problem. Not a problem. We're here to scrutinise and ask questions. That's what we do.
So I just wanted to check. Do we have a target percent in mind that calls will be resolved at first call? And as somebody who has been I've been one of those people on the line on hold for over an hour and a half, thankfully kind of using the internet rather than my landline. Do we have any targets that exist for when a phone call will be answered by a person.
Maria, can you answer that?
I would like to, but I'm afraid I don't know the answer to that question here. Councillor Coombe does have her hand up though.
Okay, right. Well, Michael, can we make a note of Councillor Duffell's question and get the relevant officer to answer that in due course as soon as possible?
Will do.
Chair,
We
thank
don't
you.
have. I mean, Maria's a genius, but not entirely. So you can't know everything in the world. So we'll let her off. Councillor Rye, do you want to make a comment at this stage?
Yeah, just briefly on that question, Councillor Duffel. I think no one should have to wait an hour and a half for a phone call. If it has happened, then rather than wait until the scrutiny committee, it'd be good if you just raised it either directly with the cabinet member involved or as a bit of casework, because then we can follow it up and amend it straight away. Because you'll be able to tell us when it happened in the day, and we can work out what's gone wrong.
Yeah, with respect, Councillor Wright, that's what I did after the event. I did take it up and said FYI to the officer. However, when I am contacting the council as an individual, I would prefer not to use my privilege as a councillor and try and get something done for myself.
No, it's not. I'm not asking you to get anything done for yourself. It's more about if you spot an issue, then it should be raised because so that anybody else who's following you doesn't have to go through the same experience.
Yeah,
more for that benefit, not for your. I want you to wait in the line just like everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, cabinet member. Yes, I think we all realise that our privileges have all disappeared many years ago, and we joined the queue like everyone else. I won't go on about planning. Right, Councillor Garfield, you want to come in there on something?
Yes, sorry, I actually want to go back to the Social Action Fund. Is that all right, Chair?
Yep, because we finished the specific items. We're doing a roundup, and then we'll go to the recommendations at the end.
Yeah, I just want to say the explanation I got from Councillor Coombe is I'm very satisfied with, because the Social Action Fund, if it is only £1,000 a year, actually puts more pressure on organisations actually going for such a small amount of money than it actually helps. By the time they've completed the funding application, and it puts an awful lot of pressure on. So if it is the Social Action Fund, that is something I actually feel does need to be re-looked at, and another way such as the lottery is probably a lot more beneficial. I just wanted to clarify that point, that obviously Councillor Coombe's response was quite adequate. What I didn't get a response on, and that was I think is Councillor Rye's portfolio, and that's about the Space Hive contract, because there are cheaper contracts out there. Is there a specific reason why we have used Space Hive?
Yeah, so thanks for the question. We looked at what Space Hive are doing elsewhere and how effective they've been, and looking around it, there's not a great deal of a difference in the cost. I'm going to be honest. Space Hive is costing us £30,000 a year. The officer role that is at the moment that would have been dealing with a lot of these projects that's vacant right now is at £36,000 a year, plus when you add on costs it's nearer £46,000. So in that respect, we're getting people that are probably I'd say far more attuned to what we need to deliver in SIL, and have greater connections than possibly just one officer. So we are saving some money on it. And we're probably getting more bang for our buck. It is something we can review. It's part of the agreement. It's that we can, if it's not working out, we can stop it at pretty much any stage after the first year if it didn't work out or didn't succeed.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
Okay, thank you, councillors. Councillor Duffel, you got your hand up. You want to?
I think that was a legacy hand, but I will come back and say that. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to disagree with Councillor Garfield now. I have been a member of and sat in these voluntary organisations in the past. Every penny does count. Sometimes putting the time and effort in for these grants is worth it. So I kind of, unfortunately, we are now diverging, but I'm still in the mindset that I would like to propose that line item to be removed.
Okay, that's your democratic right, which we will get to in a minute. Okay, so if everybody is happy with concluding questions and debate to some extent on the budget items, we'll move to the finalisation. So just bearing in mind that the proposals will be going forth for further consultation, and we're expecting finalisation of budget proposals for the 8th of February 2021. So we're only at the beginning of the process here. We're not at the end. Okay, bearing that in mind, if we move to the recommendations, I'm aware that Councillor Duffel wants to, that Councillor Sachs has raised a comment for recommendations, which I think Michael's got a note of. And then we move to Councillor Duffel's proposal, seconded by Councillor Berlin. Can I see everybody sticking their yellow hand up if they're in favour of Councillor Duffel's proposal? And if you want to just speak to it again, Councillor Duffel, feel free.
Yeah, so I've paused that. So I'm not going to read the entire line item out, but well, I may as well. Line item 21-22STA02, Social Action Fund, be removed from the report.
Yeah, could I please come in?
You can.
Thank you. Very quickly. Chair, I heard with interest Councillor Garfield, Berlin and Duffel all about the the voluntary sector. And I too am involved in voluntary sector and have been for a long time. They raise valid points. We are at the budget stage. It's a first stage. You can't ask for anything to be deleted completely, but you can ask for the cabinet to actually review whatever we are proposing here. And they, Deputy Leader is here. He'll be looking at everything what we are saying. Instead of saying deleting it, could I please suggest to him, if he says, could the cabinet review this, then I would support it. Review would be the right thing to do.
I would happily vote on the removal first, and then if Councillor Javed would agree to then asking the cabinet to then review it as a second vote, then I'm happy to, if he would like to propose that, and I will second that.
Well, there is.
I think there has been a valid proposal and seconded.
You're just trying to make a political point, and that is not going to be helpful to the voluntary sector.
Okay, Mohammed, thank you. Through me. Okay, Councillor Wright, got contribution at this stage.
Yeah, just really briefly, Chair. So the purpose of these meetings and the purpose of the first draft of the budget that you're seeing in front of you is so that it goes out, so that the public get to hear what the proposals are, and they are all effectively under review. They've been put out there as our first look at the savings, but it's not nothing set in stone until we see the February report, and that will be the one that sets the budget. We also need to remember that deleting it, whatever's said here, I don't think you technically can delete it anyway as a committee, but you can put your comments forward for it. But it creates a hole, and I think that it's also incumbent on members to say that if they're going to create a gap in the budget, what they're going to fill it with as well.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. I think that's very useful advice and guidance. So I see Councillor Berlin wishes to speak.
Thank you, Chair. I think in view of that, if we ask for it to be reviewed, hopefully there might be some consensus, and that would make the point we're making to Cabinet stronger.
Thank you, Councillor Berlin. I think I'm very strongly in agreement with you on that issue. I'm a great lover of consensus. So if Councillor Duffel's willing, I think we can happily accept that proposal as part of the recommendations.
More than happy with that.
Okay, committee, can I see everybody sticking a yellow digit in the air if they're happy to say they've fully investigated this item on the report, and then we're going to forward it with the comment made, the recommendation comment from Councillor Sachs, which Michael can remind us of, and the proposal from Councillor Berlin and Councillor Javid and Councillor Duffel. Right, Councillor Javid, I can't see your yellow hand, but I can see your real hand.
Well,
He's got both hands up.
yeah, I got. Thank you. Thank you.
Councillor Solanke, I can't see any hand from you. Yeah, a yellow hand from Councillor Javid has appeared. Anyway, okay, well that gives us a majority. So essentially, we are finished on that item with those two recommendations to go forward to Cabinet. Okay, thank you very much, councillors. I think that was quite a civilised debate. Being a gentleman of a certain age, I'm now going to suggest that we take a 10-minute. We're actually ahead of agenda we're ahead of agenda timing by 10 minutes. So I need to take a cup of tea and something that rhymes with tea. So can I suggest that we return at 20:45 to give Maria another outing on item 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. See you all in a minute. Don't be late. Right, never fear. Chair is here. Here we got. Howard, I'm afraid Cancer Berlin, I'm afraid I've brought the West Brom Albion mug into play. It's that time of night. Oh, can't hear you.
I've got my Labour Party mug.
Oh, you're a loyalist.
I certainly am.
Yeah.
We'll do a quick shout out, Chair,
Oh.
that the MP for Ilford North will be on Question Time later on tonight if anyone wants to watch.
Damn that. I think that clashes with some West Bromwich Albion and Aston Villa football highlights, but I'll do my best. What's he on? News night, did you say?
Question Time.
Oh God. Oh
Yeah. I'm watching the Aston Villa Liverpool match again.
Yeah.
7-2.
Well, every 60 years you have something to celebrate, I guess, Howard.
We're happy. We're happy.
You, half my family are Villa fans. There's only me that defected due to the excitement of the 3 Degrees and Bomber Brown and Jeff Astle.
I was there in '74 when we stopped you going to the First Division.
Oh, blimey! I'd have been 13 then. So yeah, I don't think I converted to being a Baggies fan until about 1978. It was basically during the 3 Degrees. God, who was the manager? Who went on to Man United and took Brian Robson with him?
Ron Atkinson.
Ron Atkinson era, yeah, that was my era.
Great guy.
Yeah, it was a character. Yeah, it was a character to put it mildly. Yes, but yeah, we gloried in our 3 Degrees, bless them. And of course, I mean, one of the main reasons I became an Orient fan was because I discovered that they bred and brought on Laurie Cunningham. So,
oh God, he was a fantastic player.
Yeah, I'd seen him a couple of times.
I saw him play when he was 16. Amazing talent. So tragic what happened to him.
Early, isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, life throws strange things out of left field, but there you go.
Chair, which item are we on?
We're about to go into item 6, where Maria will swing into action if she's not delegating to Ian, who's getting off rather lightly tonight. I think I'm just looking down my little list. I think almost everybody's back with us. I've managed to brew a perfect cup of Saletti and Assam tea in the time that it's taken. So the rest, Namreen's tea making is obviously longer winded than mine.
I'm here, Chair.
Hello. Which tea?
I was listening to all the football stuff.
Which tea are you on? Oh yes, sorry to
water.
Sorry to bore non-football ladies. It's and gents, yeah. Oh, no, yeah, there are gents that are not football people. I know. I do recognise this fact. But I was banned from talking. I was reprimanded for talking about tea at planning committee last night. I just wish to point out that discussing football, tea, and Councillor Coombs' hairstyle is not banned at S&R committees unless it's, as long as it's vaguely related to the subject and not overdone.
You're the
I
chair.
just say that I'm disappointed that my haircut's due for tomorrow, and it wasn't this morning.
I'm going to plug into the next committee you're on just to see how the hairstyles go. You're coping so well. Well, you and Councillor are coping so well under lockdown conditions. I mean, mine's gone crazy. I keep getting
if you are waiting for any signal or something.
Yeah, no, you're back. There's still a couple missing. They're they're 3 minutes overdue.
That we are live in this. I think the streaming is on.
Right, I shall stop filling in time and seek Maria. Maria, have you returned?
Yes, Chair.
You got your Turkish coffee to hand, masquerading as Greek.
I've got my
coffee.
tea.
You got tea.
Got my tea.
Oh, that's a break. That's very North London.
Would you like me to start with the
Yeah, I think
budgetary control report?
we'll throw you into action if you're not delegating to Ian.
I'm not delegating to Ian. I'm going to present a bit of the report, and between myself, Councillor Rye, Ian, and Councillor Coombe, I'm sure we're able to answer your questions.
Okay. So Ian's getting an easy ride tonight. You're far too easy going on the staff, if you ask me. Wish I'd have had a boss like you. Right. Okay. Rock and roll. Let's get the show back on the road. Thank you.
Okay, so it's to discuss the financial position of the Strategy and Resources Directorates within the Budgetary Control Report for Q2. I hope members have been able to open up the links and look at the report, but I just thought I'd do a quick summary of the financial position on the revenue side of the budget. So within the Resources Directorate is showing a forecast outturn balanced position. There are forecast overspends in IT and digital services and in revenues, benefits and transactional centre, and correspondingly there are underspends forecast in the assurance department and in the finance department, taking us to a net nil forecast overspend. Both the IT and digital services have been captured as part of the mitigation plans from Q1, and those are listed within Appendix E. On page, or I'm just trying to see page 89, you can see the IT forecast overspend. So we are working to capitalise more staff working on capital projects, because the project work that's coming through is capitalisable. We're holding vacancies and deferring recruitment, and we're reviewing forecasts to ensure that they're as accurate as possible. So as the changing circumstances of the projects and the activity in the IT department change, we are looking at that, and we've put a hold on further training of IT staff. So that's where we are with the IT action mitigation plan. I think it's also important to highlight to members that some of the forecast overspends that we are seeing within the Resources Directorate departments, even though we're not forecasting an overspend overall, I want to keep reinforcing that. We have had some COVID pressures that have come through. So we've seen pressures in the registrar's income, loss of income due to COVID-19, linked to not being able to conduct weddings, citizenship ceremonies. We weren't able to register births for a long period of time. So this has all had an effect on our income that we're able to collect. There has been additional pressures in housing benefits and tax collection, and these are linked to COVID-19. So these are additional costs in officer time, because we are processing all the grants, all the business grants, and the hardship payments, and now the team are also now processing isolation payments. So just want to highlight that that's where the overspends are forecast from in the revenues, benefits and transactional centre. In terms of the other areas, in finance and in assurance departments, they are both forecast and underspends, bringing the Resources Directorate to a balanced position. The Strategy Directorate is forecast. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, can we just take a break there? And
yes, sorry.
Thank you. Before you go on into the next bit. Okay, thanks. In that bit there, I mean, does telephony services come into that as well? Because I mean, my understanding is we've had to massively upgrade our telephony services during the COVID crisis.
So it's not within my directorate. It's within, but the IT team will have helped with the upgrade. And yes, you're right, that did take place quite early on, actually, during the COVID period, to ensure that our telephony services were working to the best of their ability. Okay,
sorry, my mistake there. Whose directorate do they fall within?
I think it's the telephony services were worked on together between the customer service team and the IT team. Right,
thank you. Councillor Wright, anything you want to add to that bit?
Not really, Shez. I think the main thing really is to see that there has been progress from where we forecast and where we were, if you remember the beginning of the kind of year in June time really, when we saw the first BCRs, and there has been a huge amount of pressure, as you can see, and the impact that we've seen from COVID. But there's been a lot of work that has brought that variance right down as well, from officers and from within the rest of the council. So I just, our aim is, and this is what is the issue that we've been having to deal with this year. And when we spoke about the budget, that we have a two-pronged problem. One is the in-year problem that you're seeing right now, that we expect to close and come in on a balanced budget by the end of the year, and the budget that we have to set. But we're happy to take questions.
Yeah, thank you, councillors. Councillor Sachs.
Another question from Maria, and hopefully a relatively short one. Similarly to Councillor Duffel, I've experienced long waiting times trying to get through to IT, essentially to ensure I've got continued access to these meetings and my council emails. So I'm a little bit worried if we are stopping training. I suspect IT, as an industry, there's a lot of turnover. So surely we need to train and familiarise new people as they come in. Otherwise, not just councillors, but essential workers within Redbridge are going to have difficulty getting their IT needs dealt with in an efficient and effective manner.
Yeah, thank you. I have to say I've had minor similar problems with accessing IT, but it's ultimately got resolved. I mean, as Maria knows, my ongoing fear is that we're so IT reliant now that the whole thing will collapse at some stage. So, Maria, can you reassure us all on these various points?
Yes, I'm sorry to hear that Councillor Sachs and yourself, Chair, have had delays in your calls being answered. The team have worked really effectively at trying to set up self-service of things like password resets, so that individuals can self-serve themselves and have them reset if it's something as simple as that. If there are other more complex problems, of course, IT are here to help. I would also say that the reason why we're not doing the official training is because we're channeling all of our energies into ensuring that the organisation is up and running in the way that it needs to be. We moved overnight to almost the entire population of staff and members working remotely overnight without a big project plan with a number of months lead-in time. We tested 1 week and then we went live the following week. So we saw that a potential lockdown could have happened, or even a potential to say that staff should be working from home. So we got there ahead of that. I'm really pleased with the efforts the IT team made to get us there. Excuse me. However, that's not to say improvements can't be made. So it's important for me to hear where there have been delays and where the service hasn't been quite what you have expected. But I hope that members have seen the support that these teams, for example, the virtual teams meetings, have had with the IT team, training members, training officers, so that we know how to use them in the best way. We understand how to share screens, we understand how to mute, unmute, vote, and teams are constantly updating their software. So the IT team are keeping on top of that. But the IT team, throughout this period of time, there has been a small team that have been on site that have been rotating to ensure that there is a zero touch offer to all staff and members, should the IT kit that you use not be working, to be able to come and swap it in for a different bit of IT kit or to have it fixed and repaired. So the team have, while most other staff members have been working remotely, there has been a number of IT members of staff that have been in the office making sure that things still work in the way that they need to. We have undergone different upgrades, patching, all sorts of maintenance work throughout this period as well, and they've been keeping up with all of that. So it's important for me to hear that you've had delays, and I'm sorry for that, and I will take that back to our team to see how our calls are progressing. and we will seek to do more with self-service so that only the calls that have the most complex problems are coming through to members. Previously, we have done drop-in sessions for members before council or committee meetings. It's just not been possible to run them at this point in time, but I will talk to the IT team and see what virtual support we can do.
All right, thank you, Maria. Thank you, Maria. Anything further on that, Councillor Sachs?
No, again, that was a very good answer. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, while I was referencing a particular problem I had, I have to say it was sorted out fairly quickly, and in the circumstances, I was amazed. You know, the effort that staff and management have put into shifting us onto a working from home online basis. I mean, I thought it was going to be a complete and utter disaster back in March, April. But it's all worked really, really rather well. So, I mean, what I see is sort of minor glitches, not major crises. It's just old people like me. We like to pick up the phone and have a yak to someone rather than do it self-service. So maybe it's an age demographic thing. Okay, thank you. If you want to move on to the next item. Oh,
Chair.
Sorry. I've missed Councillor Garfield and Councillor Jarvis. They've just popped up. Councillor Garfield.
Yeah, thank you for that, Chair. I just wanted to ask you about the business grants, the isolation grants. Obviously, that must have put an awful lot of pressure on staff, and that's noted in the report. And you've really been dealt with those very swiftly. Has there been any extra funding for government in order to do that, or any top slicing of the money to take that into account? Because that must have been huge amounts of administrative duties, and and obviously going through sort of dual processes and making sure that everything was had all the right information there.
Not that I'm aware, through you, Chair, of additional funding, even though we do expect additional burdens funding to come through. I'm not aware of any. However, what I would say is the team have been working really, really hard, because they haven't just been issuing the grants and the payments, they've also been collecting money owed to the council, so they've effectively been doing two jobs. And what I would say about the registrar's team as well, while they've not been able to generate the income from the weddings and the citizenship ceremonies, and birth registrations were also paused for quite a long period of time, that team was working more, I was going to say completely flat out, registering deaths at the quickest rate that they could. They were dealing with our residents at their saddest times, and they were responding. We had quite a lot of positive feedback from residents about how well the team had done, how considerate they were, and how the residents felt that they were shown compassion during those calls. So even though the team were only working on the saddest part of their roles, they were rising to the challenge, and the residents didn't get a different service offer during this period of time. They received the same service offer. In fact, they felt really well taken care of. It's some of the feedback that I've had, and I know Councillor Coombs on the line as well. So it's been really hard for some of these teams during this period of time, and that has not changed as we move into the autumn and winter.
Can I just say, yep. Chair, through you, yep. As far as the registrar service, I had some very, very difficult cases as well, and they were fantastic, particularly some difficult cases where, burials had to happen very, very quickly for religious reasons, and they dealt with them swiftly. I had a couple over the weekend where I was desperately trying to get a registrar, and they were absolutely fantastic. So please pass that on to a registrar team, because I only dealt with a few, and they were very, very difficult and very upsetting. So for them to have had to deal with the amount they probably had to deal with, I must have been awful. So please pass on our gratitude to them, if that's the right thing, or our that we appreciate what they've done.
Right,
thank you very much, Councillor Garfield.
Thank you, Maria, specifically for raising those particular staff issues. I think most of us are aware that staff have gone above and beyond the call of duty during this left field incident that appears to have come out of China. I've as a councillor, I've had very few complaints from residents about fall off in particular services. A few minor complaints about email response times. That's about it. I mean, really, services have kept going remarkably well. I think we should be very grateful to the staff for that. Councillor Javed, did you want to come in at this stage?
Yeah, can I just first of all echo Councillor Garfield's comment in relation to registration of births and deaths.
Briefly.
My experience is the same, therefore record appreciations. Are we on budgetary control item?
We are.
Okay. Could I please say, Maria and Cam, that very pleased to note that you have reviewed capital programme, and as a result, obviously, that has a positive impact on revenue expenditure, i.e. need for less council tax. Then I note in 12.6 that you got overall slippage of 154.6. Could the review not increase the 26.2 million in order to reduce burden on the collection fund, i.e. the council tax and so on, even further? Did I make it clear?
Let's find out.
I think so. So I think it's important for me to highlight that any slippage in the capital programme, because the capital programme essentially was paused during the first lockdown that we had, and activities have not been able to recommence at the rate that we expected at the beginning of the before the beginning of the financial year when we set the budget. So there's been significant slippage. Any revenue cost of borrowing that has been released is within the report, within the corporate items, as a release into the revenue budget. It doesn't alleviate the council tax, Councillor Javed, because this is part of, we've set the council tax, that's all part of the tax base, and that's all part of the funding side of our budget. But what this has helped us do is balance off some of the forecast overspends that have been coming through from services that have been significantly impacted by COVID-19 impacts. I hope that helps clarify.
Which offset to save all.
Okay, Mohammed, Councillor J, we can't hear you.
Oh, I am not on mute. I'm just asking to follow.
That's right. I can hear you now. Keep going.
Can you hear me?
Only you're going in and out. It's going a bit bingy bongy, as I say.
Well,
all right, keep going.
I'm sitting still. I'm looking at the computer. Maria is laughing. You can hear me now.
Carry on, Councillor Javed. I can hear you now.
Right, lovely. Well, thanks, Maria, for that answer. How much, in terms of millions of pounds, that we have been able to offset against overspent in other areas of service as a result of review of capital programme?
If I just take members to the report, it's important that you can see in paragraphs 5.93 and 5.94. In terms of the capital programme, it's in paragraph 5.94.1, 7.7 million reduction in capital financing costs, reprofiling of the capital programme, and then you can see the capital programme being reprofiled in section 12. I hope that helps. Obviously, we're going to continue reviewing that as part of the financial year.
All right.
Okay, are you okay with that, Councillor Javed?
Well, thanks. Yeah, we wait for the next report. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Berlin, you want to come in here?
Yeah, I'll be quick. Yeah, just want to pass my thanks on to the revenue team, particularly business rates. I've been dealing with them a lot this year. To be fair, we were very slow in May getting the grants out to the businesses. There was a lot of publicity in the off recorder, but from then they were absolutely brilliant. I mean, I've had email dealings with them literally sometimes 11 o'clock, 11:30 in the evening. And I've only had one really serious complaint. But apart from that, everybody's been very pleased, all the businesses. So thank you.
Chair, you're on mute.
Thank you. Old man going to sleep there. Councillor Duffel, do you want to come in at this stage?
Thank you, Chair. I just had a couple of questions about, I think it's on paragraph 12.13, just on the environments from roads major resurfacing and Redbridge Low Mission neighbourhoods to active travel. What we doing in active travel with this additional funding? Because I'm a keen cyclist, and in normal times I generally cycle into work, and one of the things I really depend on, and my life depends on, is roads are decent. So if we're moving money from roads resurfacing to active travel, what is this?
All right. Is this an S&R question?
It's not actually within the remit of this committee. You're talking about environments that are taking place within other directorates outside of this committee. And what I would say to you, Councillor Duffer, we have already discussed this report as part of the overview committee as well. It went up in November. So I appreciate any environments that are taking place, any delays in the capital programme and slippage have all been built in terms of the programming of the capital programme moving forward and following on from COVID-19. The place of scrutiny was yesterday. Did this not come? Not yesterday, day before. Did it not come up?
No, we spoke about markets, I think, quite a lot.
Okay. Let's not speak about markets now. Councillor Duffel, when I'm not walking the dog, I'm quite a keen cyclist. So you and me can go and bend the cabinet members' ear together on this issue at some stage.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Chair.
Are you an LCC member like me?
I'm not, actually.
Oh, well. Well, never mind. Okay, Maria, do you want... Oh, sorry, Councillor Wright. You want to...
Oh yeah, I was just gonna. I'll give a really brief answer to that, and I'll let John give it in place. But it's actually looking at just for the benefit of Michael, it's looking at cycle routes on more of our main roads, on our kind of trunk roads that go to, our kind of service roads, the longer ones that go to our major roads, just to make them safer, and finding cycle routes for those. And so I think John will be kind of announcing where they are quite soon. And just really briefly, for Councillor Berlin's benefit, when we looked at the business grants right at the beginning of the year, there were councils that just basically gave it all out straight away. Before they said they were sending money out before they'd even received it, and then they later found lots and lots of instances of fraud. And I know, because I effectively had daily briefings on and notes regarding the distribution, and we were doing it properly. It's public money. We were making sure that it was that the checks and balances were in place, because we had our own number of attempts at fraud and duplicates, and in the hundreds that we had to reject. But what we could have done, we could have followed suit and just handed it all out hand over fist really quickly, and we would have been giving out public money to the wrong locations, which has happened in lots of other local authorities. It's just not that publicised, because they've not maybe possibly treated it as public money, because it wasn't actually coming from their own budget. So the work behind it was done to make sure that it was done correctly and was handed out to the right people.
Right,
thank you very much. As an ex-fraud audit officer,
could I come? Sorry, Chair. Could I come back on that very briefly?
Yeah. Just let me.
Yeah, Councillor Wright. I'm not trying to criticise, because at the end of the day, we've got this. You've got the policy absolutely right. So well done. But the reason there was press coverage is because people had put in claims, and they hadn't had proper replies. But literally after a couple of weeks, everything did get sorted out. So I'm not trying to bash you about this.
No, I'm not. I'm just going to say something. Yeah. I looked at every single one of those. I had a briefing on each one of those. I had a paper trail when and where it started.
Okay.
And so just to really make it really clear, it was almost entirely down to a lack of information or the right information coming back to us. It wasn't the time between an application and where all the paperwork and all the details were provided right at the outset and payment was a matter of days. You know, and I'm talking within less than a week. It was largely because maybe people didn't understand the process or didn't submit all the information correctly in the first place. There were hundreds of duplicate and fraudulent claims, hundreds of them that we sifted through. So I think you know, while there might be people who expected it or wanted it or thought they'd submitted everything correctly right at the outset, more often than not that wasn't the case.
Okay.
Thank you. As an ex-fraud audit officer for 3 years, I found that fascinating. Not a big fan of corrupt and criminal claims. Let's leave it with you two having a love-in on that issue and move on, Maria, to where you were left off.
So if I can take us to the Strategy Directorate and the Strategy Directorate's forecast outturn. So in terms of the Strategy Directorate's forecast outturn, it's forecasting a £2.688 million forecast overspend. Within the report, page 42 to 43, paragraphs 5.89, you can see that the majority is due to savings not being able to be delivered during this period. So we've got just over £2 million of the savings. There are a number of pressures that have come through in areas such as loss of income and needing to support overtime as part of our business continuity response as an organisation, and underachievement of income within other budgets. So there's been a combination of lots of small forecast overspends, but fundamentally there are savings that haven't been able to be delivered during this period of time. And within the Strategy Directorate Action Mitigation Plan, Appendix E, the areas that were forecast in overspends at Q1, they are listed with the actions that are being taken to try and bring back those forecast overspends. And I think the important thing to recognise here is that during this period of time, it has been particularly difficult to deliver some savings across the whole organisation, not just in the Strategy Directorate. And what I would say is the savings that are not being delivered, that are being held within the Strategy Directorate, don't actually belong to the Strategy. They are cross-organisational savings that would affect other parts of the council, which is why it's been incredibly difficult at this time of year during a pandemic to try and deliver those, where other parts of the organisation are having to heavily support our vulnerable residents during the pandemic. So I think it's a natural consequence of COVID-19.
Right, thank you, Maria. Anybody want to discuss that issue with Maria? Can't see any hands up. No, okay. That was all very technical, but I think I got my head around it from you explaining it there, Maria. Thank you. Anything else?
Is it worth me adding one more thing? So
yes.
While I focus completely on the services, completely on the services that the Strategy and Resources Scrutiny Committee have within their remit, I do think it's important for us to highlight that the forecast overspend within the organisation has come down quite significantly since Q1. We are now at Q2 forecasting a £10.4 million forecast overspend. That's a significant change. That's a combination of additional coming in, which are in the latter part of the report, as well as action that we are taking as an organisation to stop spending in areas that are non-essential, reprofiling of the capital programme, and releasing corporate items whereby we are not actively implementing some of the things that we had the money aside for. We've also released contingency and our risk provision accordingly to manage these uncertainties. So I look forward to seeing the forecast overspend reduce even further as we get nearer to the end of the financial year. I think that's particularly important for us, so that we're in that position, and seeing where possible we await government allocate more funding to us so that we can manage the impact of the COVID pandemic. If members are interested, please look at section 14, because that highlights not only where we're spending our money in order to respond at a high level to the COVID pandemic, it also tells you exactly how much we've spent, we're forecasting to spend, should I say, and how much the national pots have been in association with some of the grants that government has allocated and what the Redbridge allocation has been when we've known it. So I hope that's helpful for members. So the total gross impact is around just under £58 million at this point in time at Q2 in relation to COVID. And throughout the report, each section is broken down so members and the public can review the areas that have forecast overspends and how much of their forecast overspends are for what item and whether they're COVID or non-COVID related.
Right, thank you. That seemed very comprehensive and very technical, but I think I've got my head around basics of it. We'll see if other councillors have. But you're saying that hopefully some more fruit might fall off the magic money tree at some stage, but we're not holding our breath. Okay, any councillors want to just have any final comments on Maria's contribution there? I mean, the trouble with this stuff is that unless you're a qualified accountant, it is somewhat difficult to follow. After 40 years in local government, I still struggle to keep up with Maria occasionally, but he is very good at explaining it when I quiz her and we quiz her. Okay, everybody happy? And we can move on. I think we're about 5 minutes behind the agenda schedule at the moment. So if we're happy to conclude questions and debate on that, I'll just point out that we'll get a further update at the next meeting, and I'm taking it people are happy to accept this report as it's been presented. If you've got an objection, stick your hand up.
Agreed.
Thank you. Yeah, type agreed into the chat function if you feel inclined. Something to make the fingers work. Okay, I think enough have popped up to satisfy Michael that that's agreed on that item. Okay, if we move on towards concluding the meeting, just notify you that in terms of future meetings, the next scheduled meeting is for the 8th of February, where we'll come back to the budget proposals after whatever amendments have occurred to them. It'll be the final scrutiny of the budget proposals before they go to Cabinet and on to full council. And we're also scheduled to be taking the performance monitoring Q3 report. Sorry, I've written something down in green pen that I can't read. So if any, just make a note in your diary early, and if you have any problems with that date, let myself and Michael, the scrutiny clerk, know. We assume it will go on that date. The only other item I want to raise is that I've not had a response from anybody on the issue of training, which I raised at the last meeting. So unless you email me imminently with or Teams message me with what you think should be our training priorities, myself and Michael will be making it up for you and making you suffer it. So this is your last opportunity. Has anybody else got any urgent pressing items that they want to raise? No. Excellent. In that case, I think we're done and we can all go have a further cup of tea, a splash of whatever, and catch up with the football and the crowd. Okay, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you, Chair. Good night, all.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Travel
Good night.
safely to the
Good night,
kitchen.
all.
Thank you.
Good night from me.
Bye.